Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem, a postmortem of my Blitz game number 462. My opponent played d4, and I went with knight f6. I was thinking maybe of going into a Grunfeld if he allowed it, but he played knight f3, which is sort of an anti-theoretical move in some respects. It gets you out of a lot of the most theoretical continuations follow after c4. But knight f3 is not a bad way to play. Just supporting the pawn in the center and waiting to see what kind of setup black is choosing. I went with g6 anyway, thinking of the Grunfeld, but I could just play symmetrically with d5 here. Also quite a reasonable way to play. I go g6, and now he plays the rare move b3. Let's see, top choice is transposing into some main lines with c4 here. But b3 is a very interesting move. It's kind of a logical idea. He's going to put his bishop here in opposition to my bishop, so the bishops will be facing each other off on this long diagonal, and that guards against my bishop becoming a powerful piece later in the endgame, because as the diagonal opens up, it just results in the two bishops facing off against each other, and neither one really gains the advantage. So not a bad way to play, maybe not the ultimate in trying to squeeze the most out of the opening, but still leaving white with a with an opening edge, and he manages to avoid all opening theory this way. So I play the move d5 when we're completely out of the book. You know, when you're in a position like this where you don't have any theoretical knowledge, it's often a good idea just to put a pawn in the center and play according to your sound opening principles. So that's what I did here. He goes e3, and so we get a little bit of normal development. I put my bishop on g7, he puts his bishop on b2, castle. He plays bishop to e2. I go knight bd7, thinking to prepare the move c5. He castles, and I get in the move c5. I like to try and get at least one half open line for my pieces, so this is a way of getting there. Also putting some pressure on the center. It is, as I mentioned in the video, a double-edged move in this particular instance. I mean, it liberates my bishop, but it also liberates his bishop to open up this diagonal. So from point of view of the activity of the bishops, it's neutral. But, well, in general, I want to have a little more center influence. I don't want to just cede the center, and as I mentioned, I do like to have at least one open line for my pieces. My opponent responded with c4. That was actually the top engine choice. I think this is a good move. White's gaining space here, and if I take, you know, my pawns are kind of hanging here. They're not supported by other pawns, so it's difficult for me to just maintain them there. Although I could, yeah, the engine is saying I could play b6, but I'm very tempted to take here and not have to worry about these pawns that might become loose. And so the first take, this is probably okay. The problem with taking in general, I'll cancel. I took the other way. I played c takes d4. The problem with taking in general, from my point of view, is that it brings his pieces forward. He can take back with the queen or the bishop. He chose the bishop. He could even take back with the knight, although if he takes back with the knight, I would kick it with the move e5, so maybe that's why that's not so good. Anyway, he takes with the bishop. He maintains control of the e5 square, and I need to play the move d takes c4. I do have a hanging pawn here, and I need to deal with it. Actually did not realize it was hanging. I thought if he took the pawn, I could take back with the knight. But that's I'm overlooking a tactic. He can take my bishop, and my knight is just sitting here d5, subject to an attack from the queen. So it's just a loose piece on d5. So in fact, after he takes the pawn, I can't take back. And I really need to do something about this now. So if I were to have taken the pawn, you know, I was, as I said, reluctant to do this because it does help him with his development. He brings another piece forward. But, well, this is still a comfortable position here. I can play with b6 and bishop to b7, it looks like, and get decent activity. Both sides have the bishop pair. It's a symmetrical pawn structure. White's pieces are a little better posted, but they might come under attack with some tempo moves like e5 at some point. Or perhaps b5, but just getting my pieces out with b6 and bishop b7, and I'm close to equalizing. So that's the way for me to play this opening. Instead, like I said, I was under the assumption I could always take back here. I played the move queen c7, and he grabs the pawn. And now it took me a long time, but eventually I realized I can't just take the pawn. So you can see I'm actually losing here. I played the move knight to b6. And now he just needs to defend the pawn with knight to c3, and he can hold on to it. I did notice that if he plays e5, that might be a little bit awkward for him. Maybe I can get some. Yeah, I can just take that pawn. So he can't. I mean e4. He can't play e4 to support his advanced d pawn, but he can support it with knight c3, and that also would prepare e4, and he just has an extra pawn in the center, and well on his way to winning the game. So fortunately for me, he played knight bd2. And now this allows me to take. I took with this knight, and we've, well, he's still got a better position here. The engine likes white quite a bit. I'm going to go through some moves quickly here because this is a long game, and we'll get to the next point where I think something critical is happening. He's just developing his pieces, and he's kind of pushing me around. My pieces are a bit awkward. I think that's why white has the advantage here. But I do manage to get my bishop out and gradually unwind my pieces bit by bit. I decided to go ahead and trade off the dark squared bishops because he was developing a lot of pressure with the battery of the queen and the bishop on that diagonal. Rook c2. So here, rook fd1, knight e5. Anyway, yeah, there's some moves he makes here that are not quite the ultimate best moves, but still keeping an advantage to white. And then right there, that retreat queen c1, although it looks pretty natural. Let's see, rook to c4, rook takes check, queen takes. Seems a bit paradoxical that taking would keep an edge. Rook to c4 is an interesting try. So if I take his rook, he has the option of taking back with either the pawn or the knight. Yeah, maybe this position is really just close to equal, and so all of these moves are not leading to any huge advantage. So we get into a position where he had a slight edge and somehow lost it over the past few moves gradually. And well, it's about an even position, and I have some ideas here. I set up a battery so that if his knight ever moves, I can checkmate him, unless, of course, the knight goes to a square that defends g2. Let's see, he plays b4, fixing the pawns here. I go with a6, and I thought this game was probably going to end in a draw. And the chess engine does rate it as pretty even. It's just hard to get something going, as long as he doesn't get too active with his knights here, or as long as he remembers to defend his king. He has a solid setup over here. I can't really crash through with the knight there. And well, my pieces are a little bit in the way. I would have to reorganize my pieces and try and push some pawns to try and get some excitement going. I'd try reorganizing my pieces here, as I mentioned, but I didn't think of, let's see, yeah, so there's, okay, right here I start to push the pawn. I decided to close down the diagonal, whereas queen was poking, and maybe get in the move e5 at some point. Queen b3, let's see, I started going backwards. Let's go forward, f6, queen b3 check, king g7, queen b2, knight to there. So I get my knight to an active post, but he can just trade it off. And we're getting closer to an endgame all the time here. And, well, that was kind of an interesting transition there. It says I have a slight edge here, but after bishop f7, I have white has a slight edge. So what is the recommended move? Just trading off the last piece. Bishop takes b3, queen takes b3. And then is there some point after that? Let's try this. It's hard to go into a position like this with just queens on the board, because queen endgames are very drawish. There's so many checks. It's hard for one side to get a big advantage. King h2, queen. Yeah, I don't see anything going on here. Queen back to c6. Symmetrical pawn structure. Queen's on the board. I mean, you can always make a mistake at any point, of course. But anyway, that seemed like that would be even more likely to draw. So I keep the bishop on. And he could play knight c5 here, which would be a good move. Yeah, he plays that, knight c5. Attacking my pawn here. So maybe he gets a little something going. I've allowed him to activate his knight. It's an excellent outpost from which the knight can never be chased. Notice it's on a dark square, so my bishop can never chase it away, and I don't have any pawns to attack the square. But over here, it's actually away from my king, so even though it can never be taken, it's not really threatening my king all that much. So I guess I have to watch out for knight f6 check, forking the king and queen. So, but as long as I keep an eye out on a few tricks like that, I should be okay. Maybe the pressure on a6 is the more serious issue. He could double. He could get his queen and his knight coordinating against that pawn, if he could do that. then I would have trouble defending. I'd have to bring my bishop, on some route like this to defend. I think maybe I end up with my bishop in a passive position after a while. Yeah, because he starts bringing his queen in. And then, so I went for the end game with bishop versus knight when he brought his queen in. I didn't want it getting too active there. And then this is the position I was thinking of. Yeah, I end up with a very passive position of my bishop where I'm just holding on to the pawn. And his knight is sort of dominating my bishop at the moment. But still, it's very even. And so it's hard to say that any side is going to win. Now I finally push forward e5, trade off a few pawns, and I need to get my king over to help out on the queen side here. So I'm bringing my king over. If I can defend this pawn with my king, then my bishop will be free to move. And notice I've set up my pawns here, trying to keep control of this row so his king can't penetrate. If his king penetrates into my position, that's how white can turn the tide and get a winning edge. So now he starts moving his knight around, knight e4 check, driving me back a little bit. And his king gets one step forward. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so white has worked his way up to a winning advantage at this point by that maneuver. Let's see, did I have a better way of handling it? Right here. Okay, after, what was his last move? He went forward with the pawn. I'm holding on to this row at the moment. I played king e7 to defend this pawn. And that lets his king come forward. So that was a mistake. So I need to hold the line here with f5, and that would be pretty drawish. Okay, so now white has the edge, and he's penetrating with his king. So let's see when he gives it up, because, and in fact, yeah, I started to realize I was in trouble here. If his king just comes over here, he can win this pawn. So I go for counterplay on the other side, which is often what you do in an endgame. The thing about kings in an endgame is they can't cover both sides of the board. That's why the wings are very important in the endgame, unlike the middle game where the center is important. Also, the knight is a slow piece that has difficulty hopping from one side of the board to the other. So this is my best hope, is to create counterplay on the other side. Although you'll see with the chess engine evaluation, with best play here, white is just winning. So let's see where his mistake is. He takes, cancel that. He took with the h-pawn, still okay. F takes. Now I have a potential outside passed pawn here. F takes g5. Oh, still okay. Yeah, I don't have a passed pawn because he can take. Now I saw I could round this guy up. That was my thinking. Come over here. And now he needs to play king e5 or knight e4. He played the move king to c6, going after this pawn. So he's attacking on the queen side, and I'm attacking on the king side. And this turns into a race, which is very even. So that one move has turned it into a draw from a winning position. So if he had just tried to hold on to things over here by moving his king this way, he can hold on to his extra pawn. And yeah, I'm not sure how he would actually break through and win this game, but it looks like that's his best try. Anyway, king c6 was played, and now I get to gobble up these pawns over on the queen side. And this move actually starts to give me the advantage. He chases my bishop away. He could have just gone directly for the pawn, so he's wasted a tempo there. Grabs the a-pawn with his knight, and now I start marching forward with my king. He goes to b6, and that's the losing move. Okay, so what's the way to win? Or how does he hold the draw? He holds the draw with the move knight to c5, getting his knight back into position, I suppose, to stop my pawn. Let's play forward a few moves. Knight c5, king g4. Yeah, I'm going to go, keep grabbing the wrong thing. I'm going to go after this pawn. Then a4, takes, knight takes. I'm going to grab this pawn, and he's going to push forward, and both sides will queen, it looks like. And he's going to queen on this square where it's a check against my king. So it's a close race already, and he's got to play precisely. So there's that knight c5 move is the only one to keep the game even. He played king b6, and now I'm winning the race. I'm just closer over here. There's fewer moves for me to queen my h-pawn than there is for him to queen either his a or his b pawn. And so let's see. I played a move that gives the advantage back. Let's see. So I should just play king g4, continue with my plan, and not worry so much about his knight coming in or grabbing the extra pawn. My queen is going to be enough to win the game. I played this move holding on to my pawn. Yeah, I didn't calculate that far ahead. That's the trouble with Blitz. He attacks my bishop. He gets the knight to c... Oh, did he play that? He didn't play knight c5 once again. He went knight c7. And allowing me to get in king g4, which I finally play. And now I think I'm winning the rest of the way. He takes. I take. I cancel that. I didn't take. I take here. And that is the winning move. Let's see. Yeah, bishop takes doesn't win. I guess after I take, his pawn is queening just as fast as mine. So I keep the bishop. I use this to harass his pawns and keep his knight at bay, and then queen my pawn. And that's the winning plan. So I take here. He goes a4. He's just too slow. So we march the pawns forward. He should keep pushing probably, but he tries to bring his knight over to stop my pawn. And here we see the defect of the knight in the endgame. It takes a couple moves to get over, and in fact my bishop and my king are covering a lot of the squares where he can approach. So the knight can't even really get in to go after my pawn. I can just keep pushing. He keeps pushing. And I get the queen. Oh, I went ahead and took this pawn first. Didn't have to do that, but it made the win a bit simpler. Get the queen here now. And, well, let's just go through the rest of the moves. It's not too hard to win this kind of game. A queen is just a much more powerful piece than the knight, and I don't think I let the advantage slip. I did just walk my king over. Always. Oh no, there was. I take that back. There was one moment where he had a chance to win my queen coming up. So well, it's a nice trick right here. Yeah. So what's my move here? King to f5 is the way to play this. Waiting for him to waste a move. King to f5. Let's see how I can do this with best play. Let's try king to f5. Let's see, his knight is covering all these squares, so he wants to try and... if he plays b7, that's just giving it away. So let's say he keeps the king in. Then I go king to e6. I thought this was the problem. He pushes on with b7 here. Oh, queen takes with check. Yeah, that's the situation we got into with the game. So if his king is on this square... Yeah, so he runs out of moves. So king f5 is just wasting a move. Anyway, the problem with king e6, which I went directly, is that now he can play b7. And just to show you the tactic again, if he plays b7, I pretty much need to take the pawn. Otherwise he's going to queen. And then that check here wins my queen. And of course it's a draw because he can't mate me. But what he did instead was he played king b5 first. And then I think he spotted the tactic. Let's see, I played the move queen to d7, pinning his knight, and he pushed on with b7, and now I took, and this is with check, and so he resigned at this point. So that's how the game ended. Hope you guys enjoyed this. There was a couple of interesting moments in that game. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.